Guys, stay hydrated. Super important. I always tell people water is the best thing God ever invented. Welcome to my channel. Welcome. My name is Ursula Sebastine. My friends call me Uju or Ursula, you know the drill. If this is your first time here, hugs and kisses to you, and if you're returning, hugs and kisses to you too. I am so excited that you made it through this week, this day, and now you're chilling with me, and we're having, we're actually going to have a serious conversation today, even though we're chilling on the couch sipping water and minding our business. But we're going to be dealing with some important issues today, which is, like the title says in the video, questions you should be asking yourself before you apply for an MBA. Okay, it's questions I've received different varying questions about MBA, applying to an MBA in Canada, and these are very legit questions, and I will get to those in my next video. This is going to be like part one of this video. There's going to be a part two, but I feel like there's some fundamental foundational issues that we should address before we get to those questions. Capish? Yeah? Okay, so that's what we're going to chat about today. So before we start on applying to an MBA, actually let me keep this, no, we're relaxing, but let's be serious. Before we get to you applying for an MBA, I think it will be helpful to just give you a bit of context about where I was when I applied for mine. So it took me a while to apply for mine, which is unique to me because I usually take time to make serious life-changing decisions like that, especially stuff that will cost me money, time. It takes me a while, so it took me like close to 2 years to decide that I wanted an MBA and apply and then get an admission. Almost 2 years, so that's a while. Some people do it quicker, but for me it just took me that time. But in that 2 years I had to ask myself some really deep questions and serious questions that only I could sit with myself and answer for myself. And those are the questions that I want to ask you today, right? Before you apply for an MBA, okay? So go with me, come with me. So the first question that I asked myself is, why do you want an MBA? Like, Uju, why? Why? There are many things, many degrees. Why do you want an MBA? Now, for context, my first degree is in mechanical engineering, and I graduated from engineering school. I worked, and then my question or the choices that I had before me was I could easily have gone back to do a master's in engineering. Actually, that was a serious option for me. I wanted to do a master's in subsea engineering. It was fascinating to me. I wanted to continue a career in engineering. I remember even doing a lot of research about ROVs. I wanted to do a certification in ROV. Oh my god, I tried many things. But I wanted that. And then I had conversations with my brother, with my cousins, people who had gone ahead to do a master's program. My brother did a master's in engineering, my cousin did an MBA, and I had other friends who did an MBA, and I had those conversations, which is super important, guys. You can't make a decision like this in a silo. Talk to people. Like, I'm here, talk to me, but anyway, back to the point. I spoke to a couple of people, to see what my options were. If I went with an MBA versus an MSc, what did that look like? And then, what they said to me was, why? What were your reasons? And that's why I had to take time and go back and be like, okay, why do I want an MBA, right? And I asked myself those questions, and I arrived at my answers, which are for me. But I really want to ask you the question, like, are you seeking an MBA because you just want to do a postgraduate degree? Are you seeking an MBA because you want to leave your country of residence? Are you seeking an MBA because that's just the organic next step that you think that there is? What really is your motive? Like, why? Like sitting down and asking those questions would really be helpful in really figuring out, okay, is this the thing that I want, right? And then the second question that I would ask you, which I also asked myself, is what is wrong with where you currently are, right? Or maybe I should phrase it this way: audit your status quo. Like, look around you, look at your present. Where are you right now? What do you want changed that an MBA can change? You know, and when I say audit your status quo, I'm not just thinking financially, I'm thinking also the intangibles. Like when you're applying for an MBA, especially I'm talking about this in the context of applying for an MBA outside of Nigeria, going back to school outside of Nigeria. Audit your status quo. What should change there? Are you happy with it? Are you unhappy with it? If you're unhappy with it, what is making you unhappy? What do you want to change about your status quo? Is it your earning power? Do you want to get more exposure into what corporate world is in a country that is not Nigeria? You know, I say Nigeria a lot because I'm Nigerian and that's where I moved from. But you know, in auditing, like, ask yourself those questions, like, do I want decreased exposure? Have I gotten to the limit of my skill set? Which is, you know, what was my experience. I was restless. I got to this point where I was restless. I had exhausted my skill set. I just really wanted to go back to school and learn more. I wanted to be exposed. I thought to myself, there's got to be more to life than where I'm at, and that's how I answered that second question for myself. I really wanted increased exposure. I wanted to expand my skill set, and I also wanted to increase my earning potential, because there were people who had the same experience as me, the same, you know, degree as I did, the same skill set that I did, but we're earning way more in other countries. And I was like, this life is only one, to not be getting all the things that I'm deserving of. Like, there's money on the table that I'm leaving. Nope, I can't be doing that. You know? Oh, hell no! No. So audit your status quo. If you are one of those, for example, big boys in Total, or, you know, you're very fine with where you're at, and the only piece is you just want a different life, then I'll say, okay, that's a great way to look at it. Because, like I said in my earlier point, you're not just auditing your financial situation, audit the non-financials, audit the intangibles, right? When I thought about my intangibles, I was like, quality of life, right? Do I want better peace of mind? Do I want better quality of life? Do I want you know, just having a diverse experience that's different from what I have known the 20 plus years of my life? You know, so for you, if you're in a really great place financially, maybe it's the intangibles that weigh more for you in that scale of, okay, should I apply for an MBA and go back to school or not? I know I do have a friend who, you know, we were in the same cohort together, and he was in a great place when he was back in Nigeria. He was earning really well, but the intangibles was what tipped the scales for him. He was like, I want a better life for my family. I want a better life for my kids. I want a better quality of life for my children. I want them to see a world that's different from what I saw growing up, you know, and that is if I would argue that that's just as important as the financial piece. So audit and ask yourself those questions. And then the third question that I also asked myself, which is kind of tied to the first question, is, are there other alternatives to an MBA? You know, especially if you've answered the first question to say, oh, I'm applying for an MBA because I just want to leave the country. But are there other alternatives? Because, yo, my MBA cost me over $100,000. It's an expensive investment. It is an investment, I should add. It is expensive, but it is an investment. So when you think about, okay, I want to move, again, this would depend on your answers to question 1 and 2, but are there alternatives to an MBA? Can I easily do a certification? Can I do a data analytics course? Can I do a data science course? Can I do an MSc? You know, a master's in engineering or a master's in finance? Are there other alternatives that would, you know, answer the need or meet the need that you think an MBA would meet, right? So asking yourself very honestly, and really these are questions that you ask yourself by yourself. You're not sitting with a group and asking it. Yes, there's a time when you have those conversations with a group of people, but is asking yourself those questions with yourself first before, you know, bouncing ideas off other people. So that's the question. Are there other alternatives that you could, you know, easily do that will meet the need that you think an MBA would meet? And then my final question is, how does an MBA fit into your long-term goals, right? If there's anything the pandemic has taught us, is anything can happen at any time, right? So when you're thinking about long-term goals, also be flexible in your mind to think that, okay, things can happen, but let's just look 2, 3, 5 years. Okay, that's enough. So when I say long-term plans, I'm thinking 5 years. But does an MBA fit into your plans for your career, your long-term goals for your career and for your life generally? If your answer is yes, we can end this video now, you know. But really ask yourself that question, and it might take you a couple of days. For me, it took me a while, right? For me, I wanted access to increased network. I wanted access to, you know, just the exposure that came with doing an MBA. I wanted access to the information, the things that I would learn. I wanted access to, you know, just that different community, because you would argue that you could do an MBA, because at first I was like, I can do an MBA and do it online because it's the same content that would be shared. And you know, it's post-COVID era now. Things are, a lot more things are happening online. Digital transformation has literally transformed the way we live and the way we do work. And so you could do an MBA online, but then you know, just asking your questions, asking the question, how does it fit into your long-term plan? Is your plan to have access to a cohort of a community or a cohort that is specific to MBA grads? Is your plan to really just go to an Ivy League school? There are some people who their life goal is go to a Harvard, go to a Wharton, you know. Does it fit? Why do you want to do that? Again, that first question. But really, you know, just really understanding the nuances between your unique perspective. Don't do things because it's the fad, because everybody's getting an MBA, or because, you know, you think that, oh, my friends are getting an MBA, I should, or because you think it's required of you at that point or at this point in your life. But then again, go back to these 4 questions that I asked. Sit with yourself, take your time. It took me 2 years, it might take you less, but take your time and decide, because again, it's a huge investment. It's an expensive investment, but an investment in your life, in your career, in your personal growth nonetheless. And if you know anything about me, I'm a champion for growth. But you need to make sure you're leveraging the right tools for growth, right? You don't want to do an MBA and make this expensive mistake, in quotes, and then go down the line and a couple of years and be like, why did I do an MBA? I could have achieved all of this without doing an MBA. You know, again, you want to answer these questions before you decide to do that. Or if your goal was, oh, I wanted to immigrate, you could have done that without doing an MBA, you know. So again, all of this is really to buttress the point that my questions were trying to make in the beginning. Ask yourself these questions and say, okay, once all your questions are yes, 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 all your answers are yes, 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 and you want to do an MBA, then stay tuned for part 2, which would be, now that you've decided that you want to do an MBA, now what? All right, so that will be the part 2 for, you know, just really giving a bit more clarity to this decision that you're about to make. So I'd encourage you to stay tuned and you know, stay tuned for the next video. I don't know if that video will be available by the time that you're watching this. I think that it would, but if it is, just click the next one and just watch, right? Just watch, just go, you have fun. But yeah, thank you for just sitting with me and listening to, you know, all of the points that I had to raise, just because I've had quite a number of questions come at me about this, you know, MBA journey. I do have some questions that I haven't answered, and I would answer them in the next video, which might be a little longer because I have a few questions from you guys, or rather from people on my Instagram. They send me questions all the time on Instagram, so I will be answering those, just for, you know, if you're new here and you have similar questions, you can have the answer. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I may have gone over time. Lord have mercy. I talk to, you know, for someone who thinks that she's reserved or she doesn't talk too much, I talk a lot. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe and follow the Instagram pages. You know, they're all linked below. and I will see you in the next one. Bye.